Hey everyone, I am Crystal Pennyboy and welcome to Behind the Mic Social Media Etiquette 101. This is for business professionals and entrepreneurs. So, a little about myself, I'm a former regional corporate communications officer, journalist, Barbadian author, cervical cancer prevention advocate, content creator, and a digital marketer. So let's get into it. So, what are we going to be looking at today? In part one, we're going to talk about the importance of social media in the professional world, why etiquette matters, what is personal branding. In part two, we're going to look at how to make an impact on social media, tips for career advancement, social media do's and don'ts, and social media AI, and you. So, what is social media and why is it so important to you? Social media essentially is you, is everything that you do from the content you create, the interactions that you have, the impact, the value that you bring to different audiences all over in your country and all over the world. So social media is ultimately made up of you, and it's just a digital version of yourself. That's why it's so contagious. That's why so many people have been drawn to it, because it is really a reflection of you and what you represent, right? So we're going to talk a lot about personal branding, but we're going to hear from this young lady from the social BFF. She's on TikTok, and she made some valid points that I think I would like to share with you today.
In order to post online, but you do need your personal brand. If you think about the landscape of AI right now and how fast knowledge jobs are changing, they're replacing jobs left, right, and center. But what investing in your personal brand does is it makes you irreplaceable. AI may be able to get the job done, but it can't replace you or your brand. So what you're going to want to do is invest in getting your story out there. It's going to help to build your voice and build your credibility. And that's what's going to set you apart and cement you in your field. If your name isn't searchable, if your ideas aren't out there, you risk becoming invisible in your own industry.
Part one, which we talk about the importance of social media in the professional world. So, what does that really mean? So, why is social media important in the professional world? Well, three main things. Networking is an opportunity to meet people that you wouldn't normally meet and make possible business connections or possibly improve your career or advance your career. So networking is very important. You can get a lot of persons saying they found mentors, they found investors, all kinds of things can come from networking. So it's all about being in the right space and meeting the right people. Career advancement. Many people have great stories in the last 10 to 15 years about how social media has impacted their career. For me personally, it has been a major shift in terms of how I am perceived by the world by using social media. I've used it to help with my public relation pieces as it relates to my cervical cancer advocacy. I have used it to talk about my communications and media experiences. It has helped me to find jobs, the job I'm currently in right now, and even jobs that I find as it relates to consultancy and helping with big brands like BBC. All of these things came through social media. So it is a way to help you advance not only your career, but also any business ventures or any community ventures that you might have. Knowing industry trends, being on top of what is happening in my industry gives me a advantage, and I know this. So knowing what's coming is very important in helping me to help the persons that I work with navigate and to pivot, right? Added benefits. So you get to engage with clients and customers and they can reach you, right? You can promote, help people to see and know your brand and research, understand your audience and your needs. These are very, very important if you want to be on top of everything and you want to be ahead of the game. So let's move on from why social media is important to the professional, but why you still have to know the rules of engagement. What are the etiquette that you need to be aware of when you're on social? So recently we heard about the Coldplay affair, and it talked about these two people who innocently, let's use the word innocently in quotation marks, attended a Coldplay concert. They were not in the general audience. They were in skyboxes or in the corporate boxes, and they were enjoying themselves a little bit too much. Unfortunately for them, they were caught in a compromising positions. One was a CEO, the other one was a chief people officer, which is human resources. And their relationship and the way how they were embraced indicated that they were probably having an affair. And this was confirmed later on. The what it resulted in is that not only did the event went that moment went viral, but it also led to public ridicule, possible loss of a job and income, ruined reputation, harm to the brand that is astronomer, personal tragedy because they were both married. So as a result, there's conversations about whether they're gonna divorce. Obviously, there are gonna be fractures within the family, conflict. There are gonna be people, friendships are gonna be ended, personal and professional. So this has a lot of different consequences. All of them you don't really know at this point. We're still writing on the meme of it. People are making cookies, people are promoting trips. It's crazy how this has taken a life on its own, and it's no longer the ownership of the persons who were ultimately the subject of this entire affair, right? So very interesting, but we're going to talk more about etiquette now. So how could this have been avoided? And this is where we come to understanding the rules of engagement online. So this is a reality that everybody needs to come to an understanding. Everyone has a mobile phone. And a mobile phone now is not just a device that you can communicate with. That is, you pick up the phone and you call. It is now a camera. It is now a recorder. It is now a messenger. So persons can send text messages, WhatsApp messages, persons can record things without you knowing. People can take photos and videos of you and upload it instantly to the internet, whether it's social media platforms, via email, send them to media houses. I mean, it is amazing how quickly information can be transmitted today when we think of nearly 30, 40, 50 years ago, where things might take up to a week or a couple of days or a few hours. Now everything is instant and automatic. So that is something that everybody needs to be aware of, especially when you are going about your business. You have to be aware of your behavior and what is happening around you, and the reality that everybody can take content and put it somewhere without your knowledge, right? So this can be a friend or enemy. And you have to understand that your private business can become public, and you don't necessarily have the authority to say, well, but I don't want this to happen. It can happen without your knowledge. So that's something to realize. This particular event with the Coldplay had over 50,000 to 60,000 people in attendance. Everyone had a cell phone. When we looked at the view of what they were seeing, the entire arena was lit up with lights, and most of those lights were cell phones. And then you had a humongous camera where persons were being spotted throughout the crowd. So imagine you having that type of visibility and then behaving in a way where it might raise a few eyebrows is a little bit irresponsible. So you have to constantly be aware that when you're in public, you have to be mindful of your behavior, the people that you're around, and know that your image can be used without your permission. There's very little that you can do about it once it go on the internet and it gets viral. So my advice, be professional and remember that anything can go viral. Part one. So let's talk about personal branding, because when you have an opportunity to think about yourself and what it is that you're seeking to achieve, you will be more likely to be staying away from behaviors that will compromise this branding, because you built this up. This is what you want people to see and perceive you. So if you're aware of that, you would know, well, there's certain things that I need to avoid. So let's talk about personal branding. So, what is personal branding? So, personal branding is the intentional process of crafting and managing one's public image and reputation to influence how others perceive them, right? So, your personal brand is your professional reputation. Let me repeat that again. Your personal brand is your professional reputation. And that is something that a lot of people take for granted. Obviously, those two individuals didn't think that obviously going to a concert knowing that you're not single and you're in a relationship, knowing that you do still have the header of CEO and chief people officer, means that you are, whenever you're in public, you are often going to be more perceived for that than what your actual name is. So your private life, you figure, is your private life, but most of the time when people see you publicly, they're going to assume that you are in your professional hat. So seeing them embracing and knowing that they have these very high level roles, it didn't work for them. If they were just a general John and Jane, more than likely nobody would care because, they're average people. But the fact that they held such high positions give them another sense of responsibility to as to how they are perceived. So remember, your personal brand, especially when you're at a certain level, is your professional reputation. So you don't want to jeopardize that. Essentially, your brand is you. So what does your brand need to be? It needs to be consistent. So if you are indeed a CEO of a company, that idea, the principles of why you were hired as a CEO, being reliable, being a strong leader, being professional, understanding confidentiality, all of these things are things you need to apply in your personal life and the way how you apply yourself, right? You need to be authentic, right? So a lot of people, if you're pretending in your job, but in the real world or in your real life, you're a totally different person, well, that's going to be problematic because eventually they're going to collide. And as we saw with these two individuals, it did collide. Their personal life, which was this clandestine, not being faithful, being dishonest, versus the idea that you need to be forthcoming, you need to be to able to show yourself and to present yourself in a professional way, to be ultimately somebody that can be a person who can show that they are reliable, that they do have um, elements that make them seem as a person that should lead, right? And then seeing that that is not essentially what you are, you don't have those elements that make you professional because you're being dishonest, you're doing something that is compromising the brand, right? You're not giving persons what they thought you should be, right? And you have to have value and be driven. Your content, whatever you do, has to have value to it. So what he didn't, he, the CEO or the people's officer, didn't intentionally want this content to be created. But what value did they give? They give that one that they're very dishonest and they're happy to and reckless. So they were reckless, they were dishonest, and all of these things have gone into their makeup in addition to the so-called professional profile that they're trying to build, right? um, Having being authentic and knowing that you should have a level of professionalism that should be in line with what the business and what it is seeking to provide, right? They did not show that when they were at the concert, right? So those are things that we have to think about and we have to be mindful of whenever we are building our personal brand, knowing that there are cameras everywhere, knowing that people are going to be judging and criticizing and critiquing. It can take just one interaction. There was this young man, he is an up and rising soca artist, and he had an interaction with the fan, and it wasn't very good. At least the fan didn't perceive it that way. And overall, that person went on and decided to comment about it and build up this kind of idea that this person is something that they're not. And it could have been a misunderstanding. The person may have lied, or the person may have said, well, look, this isn't really what was supposed to be happening, but I made it this way because I'm looking for attention. So there are so many different things that could be going on that could be driving how people perceive you. So you have to be very aware of how people, when you're in public spaces, whether you're in the supermarket, whether you're at the gas station, it could be something that's being at the ATM. And persons are very quick to whip out a camera and be like, okay, this is who you are, and that might not necessarily be so, right? So having good emotional intelligence and being able to adapt and be able to read the room is very important. And clearly those two persons did not read the room, and they took for granted things like accountability and integrity. Those are things that are very, very important when you're in a space of professionalism and for the high profile roles that they had, right? So I'm using this example here of Jody White. He is a friend of mine on LinkedIn. I follow him and I admire the way how he has been able to position himself. He is a family man, he is a father, but he's also an author, and he's very passionate about agricultural endeavors. And as an entrepreneur, person who focuses on food and providing healthy food, and he has built out an entire brand focused on these things. And I was privileged to write an article on it and highlight all the good things that he's been doing. So he's built his presence through sharing insights on food agriculture and innovation in the Caribbean. And he is a business owner in TT in Trinidad and Tobago, so he has a unique perspective. He is a media personality, host, and he always provides engaging content, and he's very responsive online, which is another good thing, another good element of being on social, being responsive, right? Going back to our couple again, they took a couple of days to respond to this entire thing. Usually, persons like them wouldn't have a PR person, but there is a PR resource for the company. But I imagine because the company now has to pull away from them because their behavior is so outrageous that it took a little time. But ultimately, you have to be able to be responsive, especially when tragedy or crisis happens. So how can you make an impact on social media? You see what when you're doing good things in terms of building out your brand, what you're trying to get people to see you as, you have to show it and share it. You have to make it clear in your banners and in your profiles, but you have to know your niche. So what is your niche? What is my niche? My niche is being a storyteller. Communications and media experience is also part of who I am. A Caribbean content creator, a digital marketer. So it's all about framing and creating that narrative is very much part of what I do. And wherever I go, whether it was in financing, through banking, or through insurance, I've always made it a point to find out what it is the brand represents and then try to tell their stories, right? And that can be done in a number of ways. When we're looking at part two now, we're looking at tips for career advancement, right? And in this particular area, I want to talk about how you can use social media to really help you to advance your career. Again, this is very much a part of building up that social etiquette. When you are given the privilege of being on a platform and you do nothing, you just check out something every now and again, scroll, you may answer somebody, you don't log in that often, you are missing out on a major opportunity to sell yourself and sell your brand and sell whatever talents or skills that you have, right? So, as I said in part one, there's an importance of networking. Social media, there are a number of ways you can network. On Instagram, for those who might be more in terms of trying to reach clients, Instagram works well for persons who want to be in the beauty industry, entertainment industry. It works well for those people a lot. Those who are dealing with food and retail, customer service, you find that Instagram is a great space to interact with people. But other people have found benefits working on their sales, persons who work in service, so like things like HR and dealing with people relations, have found their own spaces. Librarians, people who work in education, have found spaces on social and engaged. Doctors, nurses have all found spaces on Instagram to reach people. TikTok, we have the younger audiences. We have individuals who might, again, a mixture of entertainment, of providing services and products, dancers, the creators, the people, because that originally what that platform started for, those who are in the creative industry, the actors, all of those find spaces up there doing a number of things through Reels, right, which has transformed social media on Facebook, Instagram, and even on LinkedIn. When I think about job hunting, you could job hunt anywhere. You can job hunt on TikTok, Instagram, but LinkedIn is actually formulated for something like jobs. So you can go on and you can look for careers for persons who might find themselves moving out of a career or out of a job, for those who are even are diving deeply into a career, a new career, maybe moving from a 9 to 5 and now going on into entrepreneurship, LinkedIn is a great space to build up that, but it takes a lot of time and effort. You have to be producing content, you have to be interacting, messaging with people. Those are ways that you can really help you to kind of create the career that you want, you mold the career that you want, but you have to put yourself out there. You have to put content. There are newsletters that you can create, articles, you can put your reels, you can put your portfolios, which is my third point. You can build out, if you are a graphic artist, you can put your portfolio up there that persons, when they visit your page, they can see. But it also helps to post at least 3 to 5 times a week so that people can see your content and engage with it, and start building persons on your page. Start adding people, reaching out to people. You can reach out to people all over the world. You don't have to reach out to people only in your country. There's a big world out there that have job opportunities. Don't limit yourself to the people that live in your country alone. There's lots of opportunity in the bigger world, right? So let's go back to the etiquette now. So in addition to building up that personal brand, networking, your job hunting, and you're putting out your portfolios, you also need to be very authentic, as I had mentioned before. So using your real names is very important. Avoid using those little nicknames. Those things take away from your authenticity. Fact checking, whenever you provide any information, make sure you do the necessary fact checking. I know AI has made it quite easy for us by putting up that little snippet at the top, but always make sure you go to the website and verify the timing of it. Is it something relevant to today, or this is something that happened 10 years ago? If you're talking about things like media and communication, which is very much something that flows and is very fluid, you need to be mindful not to be so quick to take up certain things. You need to fact check. You need to make sure that it's relevant to know, because something that was relevant 5, 10 years ago in social media is not relevant now. Be respectful. A lot of people have taken this idea that they can cuss you out and curse you out just because they're on social, and the chances of us interacting are very slim. But the reality is, you leave a footprint that tells persons that you are argumentative and that you're a troll and you're not a nice person. So that too impacts your personal brand and how people perceive you as a whole. So these are things that you need to be respectful. The do's, again, talking about the airing out your issues. So any issues you might have relating to your personal life, try to keep those things off social. Trolling other accounts, being a nuisance, those things don't help you. Oversharing, going on and talking about all your business, that's not a good thing to do on social. Ignoring privacy settings. Now, this is about your information. So your name, your birth date, these things can be stolen and taken away from you, or you can become a victim of spammers and different things, phishing and different things that can happen on social. So it's important to manage your privacy settings to allow that not every and anybody can know what's going on with you. So it's important not to share too much information on social, and be mindful to put things in place that prevents certain people from reaching out to you, right? So the last thing that I want to talk about is AI, social media, and you. Now, because we are no longer just humans online, there are bots and different things going on. They can be very manipulative, and it can make you respond in a way that is not very appealing. So AI is able now to create agents, have influencers that are AI, complete pages that are made up of AI individuals. And this is not going to go away. The question is now, how is this going to impact you and how you behave on social? Now, if you're not in a good space, that is, you are not doing the right things, and you now see, or you may or may not know or aware of it, and you behave the same way along with AI, this can make things really bad for you, because then you have something that is not even real determining who you are as a brand, right? So AI is creating content, so you have to be very careful the type of content that you do consume, and what you do with it, and how you interact with it, right? You also need to be aware that your online branding is crucial. Now, I remember I did a a search of myself on ChatGPT, and it told me that I am a fitness entrepreneur. And while I'm really impressed by that, that's not necessarily true. So AI is not going to get everything right about you. So the stuff that they're pushing out to the world, you have to be sure, or you have to make sure that they're pushing out what you want them to see, and that it is 95% right and not 50% or 20%, right? And it's important to learn AI as much as you want to say, like, you don't use it, you don't like it, it doesn't make sense. You need to learn as much of it as you can, whether it's using ChatGPT or different or other AI type software. It is stuff that you need to be familiar with if you are to become better at your personal branding online, if you are to craft that brand and to have that impact, and also to also to avoid embarrassing situations. So learning the AI helps you in your career, and because you have more tools now that you can use to help you to perform better, but it also helps you in terms of refining your personal branding, because now you know how the AI is working and what they're looking for. You can then tailor yourself to that, so that the AI is better able to represent you on the internet. So this is the end of my presentation. I'm sure there will be questions. You can always reach out to me if you have any concerns or if you have any questions, but I am happy to present behind the mic social media etiquette 101, and you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very responsive. I look forward to chatting with you, and I want you to have a fantastic day. Bye.